Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another indie comic review. And in this indie comic review, as you can see here, I've got two particular titles here. One by James Tynion, which is Wynd, The Throne in the Sky, and last but not least, Samurai Sonja issue 3. So I'll get things prepared to cover the first one that I'll be reviewing. And that is Wynd, Throne in the Sky, issue 1. This is volume 3 of the series, and I must admit, it is going to be interesting to go through this one with you, the audience. So, first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give a 7 out of 10. I think for this one, seeing it's been a while since I've reviewed one of these on the channel, I'm going to show you pretty much all the way through this story. And yeah, there's a lot to this, so I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I'll try to cover as much as I can with what time I've got. So here's some stuff around the beginning of the story, and another, and of course another. Now what I might do from here is I'll move to the middle of the story. Now, as we start to move towards the middle of the story, we see that Wynd, Oakley, and the others have actually made it to another pub, which is basically on the outskirts of Pipetown, or, well, a little bit further away from Pipetown in the Weirwoods. And because they have some coin to spend, of course, they work on getting some food. And I must admit, we start to get somewhat a little bit of a darker side to Wynd here. This has not quite been shown in the previous volume, but it is being shown in this one. So it's going to be very interesting to how this story comes across in later issues. And last but not least, this is the last bit I'll leave for the middle, and I'll start to move towards the end. Now, as we start to move towards the end, we get a bit of a visitation of basically some guards who are after some humans because they're related to somewhat like a vampiric empire. Then we move into the location of like where basically the vampires live in this universe. And last but not least, where things sort of end off. Now, if it's one thing I want to admit, is that the art quality still continues to be as good as it was in the previous issues. So for that, it gets a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the area of the story and what makes up the story racing. Now, did we get any references in this? No, we didn't, but we did actually end up getting a bit of a page as to, and I will show it here, that gives a bit of a big heads up of things that have been that have happened in this universe. And I think this probably would have been better at the beginning than where things actually started. And as you can see here, it gives a big indication of like some of the things that have been happening to encountering the Bandage Man, Lady Gwendolyn, plus everyone else. There were basically a number of names there, which I ended up that I added to the cast list. That sort of made it a little bit too big for me. So that's about the closest thing in relation to comic reference. But moving into the area of time, we all got what was at the beginning of the story, which was years ago, and we got to see and explore a little bit more of what was happening around Wynd's character when he was a little bit younger, before he started working in the pub with Molly and that. Moving to the locations, we had Pipetown in the capital, with the capital Lost Empire. We also had other locations as to what was mentioned before, like the Ascendrial, and some of the capitals there. And of course, we had the capital of Orphok. at the end there. Now, the cast of characters had Henry, Molly. We, of course, had Wynd, Henry. Oh, hold on. Oakley, Roderick, plus a whole list of other people that Fawn, Gadriel. There's just way too many for me to name here. Overall, I did give this a 7.5 out of 10. Let me say something with this series. With what I've noticed with how James Tynion writes this series, the first couple of issues can be really good, and then it just slips in quality after that. I'm really hoping that this time around he keeps the consistency of what he's doing from the first issue to the last issue. And that's the only thing that can, well, have this story go from a 7.5 to maybe even a 9.5. Now, whether he's able to deliver it this time with the issues connected to this series, I think there's 5 issues to it. Maybe 6, I'll have to double check. So now it's time to move on to Samurai Sonja. Alright, moving into Samurai Sonja issue 3. First things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give a 7 out of 10, and I'll now move to showing you some of the artwork around the beginning, middle and of course the end. Now this is some of the art around the beginning, as we have Sonja starting to work on going across a bridge, and she encounters something in her travels. As we advance a little bit more in the story, we actually get quite a bit of action in this chapter. And as you can see here, she's going up against a demon. We don't get any indication of what type of demon it is. That is sort of like a bad indication from the writer as to not being able to help identify for us, the reader, what demon she's actually going up against. And for that, you will lose some points. So as we start to move towards the end, and both opponents definitely get their hits and misses. In Sonja's case, she gets a number of misses but very few hits. Now, moving into the internal art rating, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the area of the story rating. Now, did we get any indication of time as to when this was taking place, even throughout the day or whatever? No, we didn't. Include this in the storytelling. Trust me, it will help raise the rating. Location, of course, in Japan, but we still don't know whereabouts we are in Japan. Again, fix that up. It would make for better storytelling. And of course, for the cast of characters, this story felt like a filler issue, like the freaking first one. To which I give, or actually more like the second one, to which the cast of characters, we had Sonja Takeda and also that demon she went up against, but the overall story rating I give for this is a 6.5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.